Okay, I believe we're up and running. Okay, making this on Sunday. Got up early and listened to a church service out of Dallas this morning, so I've already taken care of my church stuff. So it's Sunday right about 11 o'clock. All right, and here's how I'm going to do things today. I'm going to send you two of them. I'm finding that they upload a little bit better if I keep them shorter. So instead of sending you one big long one and it taking hours and hours to upload and process are the two things that have to happen on this program I'm using, which is probably not the best program. If I split them up, I think my odds of getting them done, uploaded, processed, sent out, rather than have to do it 3 times over and just crossing my fingers and praying and cussing and all the rest of it, my odds are better of success. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you 2. So the first video, my goal is for it maybe, it's probably going to be 15 minutes or so, somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes. It's going to be laws regulating the interest groups, and so we're finishing interest groups, and then we're kind of moving into Congress. All right, and if the whole thing doesn't take all that long, that's okay, because I'm going to send you this video that kind of illustrates the whole thing, and that'll be the last assignment before spring break. This video on Obamacare getting passed, and it just really shows you the president's role, interest groups' role, Congress's role. So I mean, the video's pretty good timing. And hey, the lawnmower's going on there. Oh, out there, that may be interfering with the sound here, so I'm going to take it inside. Yeah, I don't think there's anything going in here, so let me do it in here without the lawnmower sound there. Let's see. Okay, so let's just go right here. All right, so I'm starting with, or maybe let me go up. There's just no place to go. That's somebody's not making noise or I'm making noise. Okay, so you got three laws regulating interest groups. All right, and so if you look at the challenge of interest groups, you've got this concern. It may be that it's making American democracy better. That could be the case. All right, but by giving everybody a say, some of y'all, even if their cause isn't that great, maybe everybody gets a say. But on the other hand, it could be that, what was there a quote? That guy Schneider, remember him? Political parties. I believe he said something like, the interest group chorus sings with a distinctly upper class accent. So in other words, who's going to be the most effective interest groups? The ones with the most money. So, I mean, to that question of why is somebody as talented as Nick Naylor working for Big Tobacco instead of the American Cancer Society? Well, it's because, the tobacco companies have more to pay, and he's kind of a gun for hire. He'll lend his talents to whoever pays the most. All right. Yeah, he's paying the mortgage, but he could have paid the mortgage with the other group too, but he's paying more than the mortgage with this one. And so, all right. So, after World War II, Congress passed a law called the Regulation of Lobbying Act. Now, you can't outlaw interest groups. They got freedom of speech. What they're doing is legal. So, what can you do? You just got to make it kind of up front where everybody knows what's going on. So, this law said lobbyists had to register their activities with the government and how much money they had. All right, the problem with this law, and again, it's kind of out of a concern that maybe a lot of big businesses in World War II making a lot of money off building weapons, probably. But lobbyists wouldn't do it. They wouldn't register. So they denied that they were actually lobbyists. Well, just because I had a conversation with a congressman doesn't mean I'm a lobbyist. All right, so then you get a new law passed, and really that one is the new law. So the next one's going to be called the Lobbying Disclosure Act. All right, and so it defines the term lobbyist. All right, so you might be a lobbyist if, little play on words, you may be aware of that thing called you might be a redneck if, old comedy routine. All right, you might be a lobbyist if And so it says if you spend 20% of your time lobbying, you get paid $5,000 in 6 months. So basically, you're lobbying 1 day a week. You get paid $10,000 a year, $5,000 in 6 months. All right, and then you spend more, so you're making donations and so forth to campaigns of more than $20,000. Well, then you're a lobbyist. You have to register. You can't claim you're not a lobbyist. Okay, and then most recently, there you see Senator Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Nancy Pelosi from the first time around, is the Honest Leadership and Open Government Act of 2007. All right, and it's at the end of the Bush years, and so it bans on gifts to lobbyists. All right, bans on gifts from lobbyists. So, you can't be taking somebody golfing to St. Andrews Golf Course. Tougher disclosure requirements. So, being stricter about saying you're a lobbyist. You got to admit you're a lobbyist. All right, and then this last thing, increasing time limits on the revolving door. So in other words, a lot of times what happens is somebody gets elected to Congress. All right, then they stay in there for a while. Maybe they retire, they lose the election. So then, but they don't move from Washington, D.C. The interest groups, their location is all on this street called K Street. So they just move over to K Street. And they all get a really high-paying job for lobbying firms because they've got contacts in Washington. They've got contacts in Congress. They know the members of the committees they were serving on really, really, really well. And so then you get a job making $150,000 a year in the House of Representatives. You serve maybe 10 years. So then you get a job making a few $1 million a year lobbying the very people you've just now been working with, and then after another 10 years, maybe you run 5 years, whatever, 4 years, you run for Congress again. So it just kind of goes back and forth. And so the same people are working for the government and lobbying the government. And so that's called the revolving door. In the Iraq War, and really this is kind of what's on their mind, I think, in the war in Iraq, Vice President Dick Cheney he'd been the National Security Advisor for the first Bush. Then he gets a job for this weapons-making company called Halliburton, and he makes millions of dollars for, kind of during the Clinton years. All right, then W makes him vice president. Well, he's really in favor of the war in Iraq. And what corporation's making a lot of weapons, getting a lot of military contracts? Halliburton. So, you kind of feels like a little bit of a conspiracy thing going on there. And so that's the revolving door, going back and forth between being a lobbyist and being working for the government in one way or another. And so the Honest Leadership and Open Government Act wants to increase the time limits between. So when you step down as from the government, you got to wait 5 years or something like that. You can't just take a job right away. All right. Well, that's that one. All right, so review that. I'll breathe a second. And that's the end of interest groups. All right, I have no idea how we're going to do a test. I guess the test, I just have no idea. But we're not going to test this week. When we get back, we'll do some kind of test on interest groups and interest groups in Congress, which is what we're fixing to start. And I'm just not even going to speculate on what it's going to look like. I'll have spring break to kind of ponder that question. Okay, so I am now going to skip over to this right here. All right. Let's see. So this is going to be how a bill becomes a law. All right. I don't know if you remember, there's another Schoolhouse Rock video. Here, I'll sing it to you, what I remember of it. I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Oh, I don't remember the rest, so I hope I will, that I will. But you see, I'm still just a bill. It wasn't as memorable as the preamble. You can feel free to look it up. It only takes about 3 minutes. I'm scared to, to botch it, screw up the video, But But the thesis of it, the moral of the story is it's hard for a bill to become a law, and that's exactly right. There's like, I don't know, there's thousands of bills introduced each session of Congress, like 100 of them passed, something like that. So, I mean, we're looking at, the number one thing that Congress does is it passes laws, but, things are set up to make it hard for government to do things. The Constitution, all the checks and balances, separation of powers is set up to make it hard for government to do things. So our lawmaking process is a difficult one. You've perhaps been keeping up. Congress just passed a $2 trillion kind of bailout plan for our economy while all this is going on. They kind of fast forwarded that thing. But we're looking at the process that something like that has to go through. All right, so we're starting in the House. I wonder if I can put House over here. All right, so there's the House and the Senate. All right, so we'll start in the House of Representatives. All right, step one. All right, and notice this is a two-parter. So over here on the left, I'm going to do the House, and then on the second tape over here on the right, I'm going to do the Senate, and you may see some similarities, some differences, but some definite similarities. So I think it kind of helps to have them side by side on one sheet of paper rather than a PowerPoint in this case. All right, all right, hey, bill gets introduced. Okay, they put it in a box in the House called the hopper. Remember those old, some kind of cell phone commercial, the hopper. All right, so it's a hopper. All right, so it gets read, gets put in the hopper. All right, well, there's 435 people in the House of Representatives. They all got too much work to do. They're all introducing lots of bills. No, these bills are thousands of pages long, so people don't have time to read them all. So they specialize. So they send the bill to a committee. It gets referred to a committee. Here, let's put this. It's called a standing committee. Means it's permanent. Every year, these same committees exist from session to session of Congress. So there's an appropriations committee, a ways and means committee. There's like in the Senate, there's a judiciary committee, foreign affairs committee. And these are permanent committees. They don't have to get created every time the House and the Senate reconvene. So it gets sent one of these standing committees. Okay, there's maybe, in the House, there's maybe 15 or 20 guys on these committees. They're all introducing, 5 or 10 bills a session. These bills can be thousands of pages long. So the guys on the committee got too much to read, so they specialize further. And so it goes to the subcommittee. Okay. Can you type? All right, here's where the work gets done. So I'm going to write this down one time, and then we'll put it in parentheses. We'll abbreviate it. All right, in the subcommittee, you're going to have what you saw at the end of Thank You for Smoking. You're going to have a hearing. That was a hearing. Testimony. Nick was testifying. The committee chairman was the guy from Vermont Cheddar Cheese. You remember that? All right, it's a sad story. Hey, that guy's married to Lori Loughlin, the lady who got in trouble for like USC college stuff. Testimony. How do you spell that? All right, then they debate it after the testimony. So Nick was, he was a witness giving his testimony. The guy before him, there were other witnesses testifying. All right, hearing, testimony, debate, amend. Then you have amendments introduced. You change it. Somebody wants to support the thing, but they want to make some changes. Then you have the vote. All right, HTDAV. Whoops. Now notice. Hey, that rhymes. HTDAV. Da, 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 da. All right, so from this point forward, we'll just go HTDAV. All right, because if it passes out of the subcommittee, it goes back to the committee, back to the standing committee. What do you think they do? Da, 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 da. HTDAV. Hearing, testimony, debate, amend, vote. Okay. This next one is something that the Senate's, so far it's going to, the Senate's going to look very similar when we get to the Senate on the next tape. All right, here's something that the House has, and let's take note. 435 members of the House of Representatives. If you're the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, that's like herding cats. You got a lot of folks you got to keep under control. So in the House, you're going to have something called the Rules Committee. All right. And the Rules Committee sets the rules for how something's going to be debated on the floor of the House of Representatives. So they're going to have either an open, closed, or a modified rule. Open rule means you can have all the amendments you want. You can debate it for as long as you want to. Closed rule means no amendments and a strict time limit on debate. And a modified rule would mean there's probably some general time limits, and you can do amendments, but it can't be a relevant amendment. So, I mean, if it's, for our skull and crossbones bill, I can't remember if they were in the House or the Senate, and thank you for smoking, you can't add a weapons amendment to that. You can't put something on immigration on a smoking bill. It's got to be something relevant to it. So maybe skull and crossbones, but only on certain types of cigarettes that have a certain level of, danger, something like that. But hey, the chairman of the Rules Committee, chairman of these committees are all really, really powerful. You could kind of tell that with a guy, the chairman of the Thank You for Smoking Committee. John Meadows from Calhoun used to be the chairman of the House Rules Committee on the state level. If he didn't like a bill, he could just not pass a rule on it. He could just leave. So he's got basically a veto over this bill that can't be overridden. So my way of looking at the thing, the chairman of the Rules Committee's the third most powerful person in Washington, maybe the fourth. Let's put it fourth more. So you got the Speaker of the President, Speaker of the House, Majority Leader of the Senate, and then the chairman of the Rules Committee in the House. Okay. All right. Then you're going to something called the Senate floor. Now, why on earth is that calendar there? Okay. Whoa, not on the Senate floor. We're in the freaking House. Mackenzie, you're an idiot. All right. House floor. Okay, on the House floor, you DAV it. There's too many people on the House floor to have hearings and testimony. But, this is where people get up and they give their speeches. So that's the debate. All 435 of them are there in theory. They can add whatever amendments the Rules Committee says they can add, and then they take the vote on it. All right, and if it passes, it goes to the Senate. All right, now let's take a look at something. Most bills, when they get sent to the standing committee, don't even get sent to a subcommittee. Most bills, if they get sent to the subcommittee, they die right here. They don't make it out. If there's a vote, they don't pass. If it makes it to the standing committee, it probably doesn't make it to the Rules Committee. Now, probably most of them make it out of the Rules Committee. And if it makes it to a debate on the floor of the House, I think it has a kind of a decent chance of passing. But the point of it is it's very difficult to get from here to here, and maybe, 1%, 5% of bills get from here to here and make it out of the House to go to the Senate. Okay, so we will stop right there. What do you think? About 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes that was? I can't see a thing. I'm going to go inside with this one. I can't. If I'm inside, there's people talking. I'm afraid you can't hear. If I'm outside, I can't see you. There's more going. There's my dang crazy dog barking for no reason. Okay, so I'm going to go right here, and then I'm going to save it and upload it and all that stuff. All right, hey, if I'm within 2 minutes, I'm going to give myself a Jolly Rancher. I say it took 14 minutes.